When it comes to data and digital acceleration, companies are facing significant challenges. My co-host Sarah and I are here to help you tackle them. We're broadcasting live from SAP Now in Brussels, and in today's episode of SAP BeLux Talks, we'll talk to Vivien Boche. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Vivien, you're Senior Director at SAP, and you gave more than 100 keynotes, I saw on your LinkedIn, so congratulations. In other words, you know SAP by heart, but we know that SAP like acronyms, and we were told that you know everything about BTP. Can you tell us what it is and what is it doing?
Well, my favorite acronym, but maybe let's detangle what these three letters mean. So it stands for Business Technology Platform. So in short, we call it BTP. Well, but you know, three words. What do they actually mean? So the Business Technology Platform is the technical foundation on how we at SAP actually develop a lot of our own products so that we then provide to our customers. But we also give this technical tools to our customers. So what it encompasses is a platform of various different parts. You can build applications, so application development tools. You can use integration tools, so integrating different parts of the business from applications or even government integrations and so on and so on. You can also have automation. So how do you automate manual repetitive tasks in your business? How do you use AI? Obviously one of the key words in the business at the moment. How do you leverage AI in your business processes? And then lastly, it's about data analytics. So 5 areas: application development, automation, integration, AI, and data analytics.
And what is so special about it when you compare it to similar platforms that are not SAP?
Ooh, great question. So I feel like when you think about the BTP, we've put the B, so the business, word in it for a reason, because SAP is a business process company. So we understand how the business of a lot of organizations run, because we span over 27 industries. And all of this knowledge we're injecting into this platform. We provide also a lot of pre-built content for our business so that they don't need to start from zero. So then you can already leverage pre-built integration scenarios. You can leverage pre-built automations where you say, okay, I want to have this automation, I have this particular software as well. Let me now use it and don't need to do a lot of things. We can use it out of the box. There's also the part about compatibility. Sorry, not compatibility, but also composability, a lot of different words. But composability, what that means is, because it's this kind of technical platform, you can use these 5 areas that I mentioned wherever you think in your business you need it. So if you want to, for example, build a new application that interacts with your customer base, then you can do this. But if it's maybe in your supply chain area, you can also build there. If you want to extract data from, let's say, your employees, you know, some of the data points and bring them together and visualize it in an analytics dashboard, or if you want to bring 7 different data points from other vendors as well, you can also do this. So it's the composability of parts where you need it in your business. And on top of this, we also have the portability, which means we're offering a multi-cloud approach. So you as a customer actually decide which kind of hyperscaler you would want to use. Where do you want to store your data? Is it on Google? Is it on Amazon? You know, you can even do a mixture. So I have customers who do like some parts of their business in this area and some parts of the other area. So I would say it's this kind of like one platform that provides you with a lot of different capabilities and services. But on top of this, because it sits all on this one platform, you also get the security. You get the integration between all of these different parts. Because if you want to build an application, this application should not completely be siloed from the rest of your organization. The data should be flowing, right? It should be integrated. Your employees should, or like customers should have an understanding that it fits into your company area. You also want to have, ideally, that it identifies directly the right people, so the identity and access management behind it. And all of this comes with it because it's part of this bigger platform. So maybe just to kind of summarize what I was saying in short, it's about the pre-built content that we have available. It's about the composability, right? We're applying the platform of where you need it in which area. It's the portability that you choose of where your data gets stored, and a lot about this one platform where you already get a lot of the security features, the authentication, the identification already pre-packaged and built for you.
Yeah, you just mentioned that AI is a hot topic right now, which is of course true, but are companies still not often in the experimental phase when it comes to AI?
So I would say yes and no. I mean, we're here today at SAP Now, and I've just been asking this question earlier in my presentation, how many of you are using some form of AI in your organization? And I was surprised how many people stood up. I was like, wow, this is awesome to see. But obviously we are experiencing this new wave, right, in terms of generative AI and how this can impact businesses. And I mean, we all have used probably some kind of form of LLM model where you were like, oh my God, this actually really does improve my way maybe to write an email or to maybe also do some coding, right, and all of those things. But now it's about how do you actually bring this into a business context? Because you do not want like that your employees to, put all your personal data or company data into one of the large language model providers. And then, these are things which are very like, sensitive of the nature. So yes, I would say a lot of them experimenting right now of how do they bring it into their organization. But I do also see a lot of companies already having implemented maybe some form of AI, not necessarily generative AI, right? But maybe more classical ways of like machine learning or something else. And again, what we do at SAP is we do actually two major things. We actually, as part of the software that we're offering, we embed things directly in there, which means just if you have the software and you're using it, you already get to use AI. And we have like announced that we have 100 generative AI use cases by the end of the year. And yesterday I learned we're already at 91. And let's just to set this in perspective, in June we were only at 50. So just to show you of how much we also doubling down in terms of how companies can make easier to actually use AI.
Which kind of cases are we talking about? Do you have a good example of these cases?
Well, for example, something is like from the BTP stack, if you want to do code generation, you can have like a prompt natural way of like, I want to have an application that does X, Y, Z. Or if you're looking into the HR space, it's about help me to write a job description because I'm hiring for something else. Or understanding a CV and then like based on this formulating some interview questions. In, for example, more the manufacturing space, understanding the like let's say the different components and understand if there's any anomaly for maintenance and then sending off some work orders in the backend, automating these parts. I think there's a lot what we do in the space and really like excited about it because it's like so moving so like honestly so fast. And you were just mentioning I do a lot of keynotes. Yes, but every time I go on stage and talk about AI, I need to see, okay, what is new? What have we done? And actually re-educate myself every time. So it's really exciting, but I think we have a lot to look forward to of where we're heading.
Yeah.
And what do you need to do as a company to take full advantage of AI?
So that obviously is, I would say, a lot of things that you need to consider. I mean, it starts with the skill development, right? Because you have a lot of people in your organization that might be also a bit of like frightened, like how to use AI. So it's a little bit of explaining of how do you interact with AI. It will not necessarily replace you. It's more of an efficiency and productivity enhancement. Because I mean, we're looking back, right? The industrialization, people were scared about machines, right? And all of those things. But it's a bit of a skill and also teach them of how to interact with them. That personal data, for example, should not go into a large language model, right? The other one is obviously for companies to have a strategic alignment, right? To think about how do they actually want to use AI? Do they have an AI like ethics or policy document, how they want to deal with AI? I always sell them to like companies. What is the worst headline that you can imagine to have in the news about your company? For example, I mean, you're just only have an AI implemented and it's only so biased that it's only hiring males, right? This is stuff that you don't want to have something in your companies like saying about you. So start from there and then work back towards your like, what is your ethics? What is your policies that you want that the AI is doing for you? And then obviously more on the SAP side, there are two topics that come out in terms of data readiness, right? Where we have a lot of tools. And we just talked about the business technology platform. And one of the parts was data and analytics, where we can help companies to get yourself ready for AI. Because often we're saying your AI is only as good as your data is, right? Because we just talked about bias. You want to avoid that your data is biased. You also want to probably bring data from various different sources of your business. Because let's be honest, from an SAP standpoint, you're not only using SAP as a customer, you have various different vendors, but how do you bring this data together so that you then can leverage it in your AI projects? Huge thing. Honestly, a lot of customers are struggling with that to understand how to bring all of these things together, where we're offering tools and make it easier and being more open to bring the whole ecosystem around. And we have a lot of partnerships in the space, again, to also focus this like open and connected ecosystem. But then also the last part is about the technology infrastructure, right? What are you using? What are you having? How do you upgrade? because often the most innovations happening in the cloud. And there's obviously this big movement for companies also moving their business to the cloud. And I mean, we, for example, run like half-year update cycles where you always get then the latest and greatest. And these things often come then also when you are in the cloud. So it's about these 4 things for me, which is skill development, strategic alignment, data readiness, and technology infrastructure in order to be like ready towards AI. But obviously there are many more things, but I would say with the majority we can help. That's, I would say, also is a good part. But obviously there's also like a thinking from the customer of how they want to approach all of it.
Yeah. You mentioned the headline experiment where people have to imagine what could go wrong, but what are the main risks for companies when they use AI?
Well, obviously data privacy is, I think, one of the major keys that we at the moment see. I mean, I already mentioned the example where employees just go off to another large language model provider. So there we have like data privacy, bias and fairness of like across the different models, because you're building maybe something out that might not be as great as you intended it to be or doing the job that it's been doing. And then obviously also some of the ethical concerns in terms of from employee side, you know, the change management, which I was been mentioning. And then obviously also a skill shortage, right? Because not everybody knows or necessarily how to develop AI, right? So there's also a lot of like training and also how to use AI and how to develop AI. But obviously these are more, I would say, as part of some of the like more softer skills, I would say. Obviously as SAP, we are like a software company. And what we're doing is that as part of like our products, I mentioned that we embed AI. What means is actually the whole part of the data privacy, you don't need to think about it because we have already taken care of it. The whole development, we are taking care of it because we are training and retraining the models. And then also obviously we have a lot of like checks internally. Before something goes out, it has gone through a bias, a fairness, any kind of, if it would harm any humans or those kind of things. I mean, I've been recently at an enablement and looking at the different steps and structures of what has been put in place, there are so many stoppers in that sense. If it just would have a slight harm, we're changing it, we're reiterating, and maybe not even publishing it. So I would say with our embedded AI, which we do across our whole like portfolio, you get a lot of like, you know, just using it, and you don't need to think about a lot of these things. But then I mentioned that we're also providing the tools to our customers. And this is what we call then custom AI, where you actually, if you, for example, have an own idea of what you want to develop in your business, you can use these tools. And guess what? Where they're sitting on the business technology platform, right? It's this technology platform that provides these tools, because actually the embedded AI that we build it with our business technology. We use our own tools, so we're drinking our own champagne, but we're also offering these tools to our customers to use it themselves. And there actually a lot of these things, for example, data privacy is already also addressed as part of this platform. I talked about security and all of these things earlier, right? Because of this one platform umbrella. But for example, in one of our tools that's called the Generative AI Hub, we're providing access to over 22 large language model providers. So for example, GPT, right? Anthropics, from Amazon, and so on and so on. And what we have is we have agreements with them in place that obviously, and when you put a query forward, it gets processed because you obviously need to get a response back, but it does not get stored or used for retraining purposes. And I feel like this is often a real big thing for customers because they know that, okay, I can use this technology, but I'm in a safe environment of where I can use them. And even better, you know, I was talking about this, like if you have a scenario in mind, right, let's say in your HR space or supply chain space or finance space, where you want to like develop something, for example, with generative AI, but then which model are you using, right? How do you know which one to use? Well, ideally, you should not hop around and try an error and do things, or like just say let's go with maybe GPT because it's the most known. But maybe often it's not actually the model that might address that particular use case the best. So what we then do is, because you provide the access to these 22 different models, you can simply just switch. You put a query forward, like let's say a question, what is SAP now, for example, right? And then it would come back with like, let's say some models come back with a really short answer because they're trained to maybe have like shorter replies. Some models may start already with like 3 different bullet points. And there's various different ways of how a model like is good for which type of purpose, and you need to then understand, obviously, if you want to develop something custom, which one is the best, and kind of try it out and see what works the best for you. So as part of this platform, again, we have now we're providing these custom AI tools, or we even have some of the pre-built models as well. For example, where you can have a PDF document and extract all the information from there and then put it automated in some kind of other place. You can maybe think about several scenarios where this might be useful for you, and you again decide where to plug it into your organization, right? Or you want to build an application, or you want to build an automation which uses AI. So there's a lot of things of what can be done. So I would say in terms of the risk, we are thinking and taking a lot of these risks already from our customers so that it gets easier. We have seen a keynote in the morning where they said the pathway is going up a tower and it's so hard to go up there. Well, it's maybe not like a complete going up the tower. It's really trying to make this tower a bit more less steep, and try to make the path a bit easier for our customers.
Yeah. All right. Maybe to conclude, if you have another cool example of what people did with AI on SAP?
Well, we at the moment had. Wait, I need to think which I can actually say at the minute.
There's a company in this industry.
Yeah, exactly. So I need to ask, which one can I mention right now? Sorry, I don't know if I can't mention these company names. I can happily talk about what we are doing, but I'm unsure. But
no problem.
I can mention these right now.
Yeah. So maybe another. Maybe to conclude, do you have a cool example of what SAP did with AI recently?
So, for example, we have. I think what I think is just incredible is what we have announced at Sapphire at one of our bigger conferences is that by the end of the year, 80% of all the most common tasks across all of our business will have some kind of AI function where we have our co-pilot Joule, which then if you ask it, I don't know, I want, for example, HR space again, I want to create a goal for myself, or I want to create a leave request because I want to go on holidays. And all of these things will be then supported by a chat window frame where you either can already do it directly in there, you don't need to navigate to any kind of application, or it can help you to say, oh, these are the information. So for example, often, customers also want to upload their own policies, right? So for example, I don't know, what is my car policy, or what is, more information about these things. And so think about what big businesses are running across, HR, finance, supply chain. 80% of all of these most common tasks will be available in Joule. And I think this is just for me a bit mind-blowing what we are able to do, and how, again, it's much easier instead of, going on maybe Google and searching in a help documentation, or I don't know, clicking yourself through the system and finding, where was this one link, or what? How do I need to do this? Or I don't know, for example, what is a sales order notification? I don't know, maybe if you're new to the business, you need to get a bit of up to speed with things. You have now a digital assistant that you quickly can ask and help you even do those things. And I feel like this big number of 80% was kind of blowing me off my chair when I was sitting in the keynote and our CEO was talking about this. I was like, by the end of the year, I was like, well, okay, we have a goal.
Right, really exciting future. And thanks to give us a small insight into what AI and SAP, what SAP is doing with AI. Thank you, Vivien Boche.
Well, thank you for having me.